100 points all day long. Do you really know what's in your wine? And looking to be a lousy year for French winemakers. Not a good thing. All that and more on This Week Uncorked. Well, hello and welcome to episode 10 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, September 23rd, 2024. I'm Brett Martin from Cork and Journey, your number one source for corkage information. And with that, let's get right on into the wine news. The Wine Searcher, wine-searcher.com. If you don't know, great place if you're looking to find a bottle of wine. You just kind of wonder where it is and where you can buy it at. That's where you go look. They also have a great little blog. There was an article in there by Oliver Stiles, who's a winemaker and a writer, on putting an end to perfect scores. And it's kind of interesting because if you've noticed lately, we've been talking about these 2021 vintages out of Napa are just crushing it on the Cabernet side with just 100-point score after 100-point score after 100-point score. And, you know, they're saying 2023 is going to be a better vintage, so goodness knows what's going to happen then. But he's got an article on just the scam that is the 100-point score. Becoming friends with the winemaker, what happens when they make a mistake. There's a paragraph in here where he talks about no more Robert Parker versus Janice Robinson slugfest, no more throwing shade at top wine publications for giving underperforming Fifth Growth a top score. All great wines are great with only fractional wobbles as to how great they are. No whoopsies for when you thought a heavy bottle was a Napa Cabernet, but it turned out to be a Bonarda from a rich estate in Argentina. Just great stuff here. I'd argue that the whole scoring system, and especially with these major scores, if you're not blinding these things, and oftentimes, I won't say who, but they do blind tasting, then once it's revealed, they'll go back and do another taste if the scores weren't necessarily high enough, and maybe bump that score up a little bit. There's just some really odd things that go on in the wine industry. Look, when you walk into the store and you see that bottle on there and it says 98 points, people grab it, or 97 points or 96 points. Half the times they don't even know, who is it? Is it Suckling? Is it Parker? Is it Decanter? There's so many different sites out there that are giving these numbers. You just slap that number on there. What's that worth? Well, they can make the wine move a little better. Maybe you can price it a little more. So the whole scoring system could use a little bit of review. Anyway, that's a whole nother rant for another day. And moving on with wine news, Wine Business Monthly has an article on wineries implement transparency in labeling to appeal more broadly to customers. This is a great concept. So it's been around for a while, but the idea is when you pick up your wine bottle, you should know exactly what is in the wine. So what should it be? Should be grapes. It should be yeast, and maybe it's got some sulfates in it to preserve it. Probably should have some sulfates in it to preserve it, but a natural wine won't. This is the difference where a wine can stay on the shelf for more than a decade as opposed to a couple of years and then it goes bad. Had an experience with a winemaker I know who made a beautiful wine, which was one of the best wines I ever had. Bought a case of it, the entire case, half of it, which we hadn't drunk when opened it. It was bad. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? No sulfates. The whole thing just turned. So any little thing in there, it can go quickly. But that's what should be in some wine. Those things. Then you might get things like maybe tartaric acid is added. There's some other kind of natural things that are put in a wine. But if you look at it, you don't know. And then there's the bad things. So the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Trade Bureau and other countries allow about 60 different additives to go into wine. One of these is called Mega Purple. So anytime you buy a bottle of wine, red wine on the shelf that is probably under $10, odds are this thing is just doused with Mega Purple. It gives it texture, body, color. It basically makes just water look like wine. And, it's just horrible. The other level on this labeling thing is, how do you age wine? They'll say is it in oak? Is it in new oak? Is it in French oak? Is it American oak? Should that be on the label? I contend it should be. Cheap wine. A lot of these Chardonnays that are really, really over oaked, they have oak powder. It's ground up oak, and they just dump it into the barrel so that it absorbs that. And then they filter that back out, and they take big chunks of wood and they just throw it in there to simulate like a big, huge metal container where they're fermenting this wine. And they just kind of throw that in there, just kind of let it soak up some of that oak flavor. Not necessarily the same thing as aging it in an oak barrel, but it is what it is. There's a whole movement to say, let's have these wine labels be, here's what we did. Here's how we aged the wine. Here's where we got the grapes. Here's when we picked the grapes. To take it to that whole next level, right? And here's exactly what's in the wine. Here's what we did to it. Here's what you're drinking. To me, kind of a no-brainer. Right now, they just have to put the alcohol level on there and the Surgeon General warning saying potentially bad for your health. That's kind of all that's mandatory. Heck, on some wines, you don't even know what grapes are in there. No idea. Now, I can understand if it's just an unknown blend, you should put that on there. An unknown blend of, if you see something that says red table wine, gosh knows what's in it, right? Could be grapes from all over, the cheapest grapes you can find, fermented in large vats, all run together and thrown together. But it's nice. So I'm all for transparency on this. There's some companies that have been doing it for years. Anyway, this article's got a ton of great examples of wine labels, what could be coming down, what some winemakers are already doing. I think it's a good thing, and I hope it continues. All right, and before we move on with the news, quick shout out to our buddy Rex Pickett in Sideways, the novel, right here. Basically, he's got 4 books in the Sideways series, and if you head over to rexpickettbooks.com and use the code CORK10, that's a site-wide discount for 10% off everything. Rex will autograph. He's got 4 books in this series. He'll autograph the books for you. He's got posters. He'll autograph those. Don't buy his books from Amazon. He does so much better. If you like the movie and you haven't read the novel, you got it. Once you read the first novel, you're going to, oh my gosh, this is great. Second, third, and fourth are great as well. There's a 5th one coming out. Let's head over to rexpickettbooks.com. Check out Sideways. Get it autographed, and hope you enjoy it. All right, and moving on with the news. So the San Francisco Chronicle has an article on Bragia Family Vineyards in Sonoma is shutting down its tasting room due to low visitor turnout, and it's for sale. Turns out, kind of doing a little more research on this and kind of going through, the tasting room traffic in Napa and Sonoma is down considerably. In Sonoma, it's down 5.9% year over year, with sales dropping 2.9%. So in Napa, it's dropped 5.3%, but sales are down 4.2%. So I would imagine if I was a winemaker, I'd prefer that the sales of not decline that much. You're almost better off in Sonoma in that case. But it is a trend. I'm wondering, quite frankly, Napa and Sonoma have gotten out of control. You're looking at 100. I think we've covered this in other news. The price of a tasting is ridiculous. Hard to find them under 100 sometimes, especially if you're going to any of the bigger, well-known names. But it's super expensive. And at the end of the day, is it worth it? And is it affecting their sales? I contend it may have reached that point. Sad to see, but we're starting to see that decline. Maybe it's just the economy. You never know. We will find out. But interesting article and worth taking a look at. And wrapping up with a kind of another downer here, but Just Drinks talks about French wine production set for double-digit drop in 2024. If you just search French wine production 2024, there's so many articles on this, but we're looking at almost a 20% decrease in the harvest, with 11% below the 5-year average. Huge drop, mostly blamed on weather, climate change, all kinds of things that are going on over in France. And it is going to be a rough 2024. So that means if they do get any grapes that are workable and usable, and you can make a good wine out of them, look for the price of some of your favorite French Bordeauxs to go through the roof, because it's going to be a kind of a low production year. We talked about this last week on our show, where Dom Perignon just said, nope, no 2023 vintage. They harvested it, they fermented it, and he never got to second fermentation. They're like, nope, we're not going to do a vintage. It's not good enough. Big problem for France. Hopefully things improve. And with that, let's head over and check out our wine and winery of the week. Highlight Lula Cellars out in Anderson Valley. This is just a really, really nice little tasting room. It's in the city of Philo. It's an absolute joy. Beautiful outdoor tasting room set in the vineyards pretty much. They do have a nice little indoor area as well. We had just a great afternoon here. And man, oh man, I mean, they're known for their Pinots in Anderson Valley. And this did not disappoint. We had the 2019 Anderson Valley Pinot Noir. It was just absolutely amazing. Anderson Valley, I mean, Wine Enthusiast gave it a 94. We gave it a 95. It is a rockin' wine. So, if you can get out to Lula Cellars out there, I would check it out. And also, while you're in Anderson Valley, Roeder Estates, a famous French winemaker, they also have a vineyard and tasting room in Anderson Valley, and they can't be called champagne. They make sparkling wine. And I will tell you another great place to visit while you're there. And don't miss Roeder Estates after you've gone to Lula. You can just kind of go right on down the road. And I think you will enjoy that very, very, very much. So shout out to the people over at Lula Cellars. We had a really great time. And you can check out our write-up over at Cork and Journey as well. With that, let's talk about our restaurant and corkage of the week. All righty, we're going to head back over to Napa to Press. So last week we talked about another famous Napa restaurant, the French Laundry, 3 stars. When we went to Press, it did not have a star, but it has gotten one since, so it got a Michelin star. This is a fun little place. The food is just fantastic. It's a little more mellow. The service, though, is great. Been there many times, been there before the star, been there after they got the star. Amazing wine cellar, great somm. Corkage fee's only $30. I don't know if that's gone up. We haven't checked it. Normally we're on these things. I'm pretty sure that's it. It was that a year ago anyway. It was the last time we verified it. Great restaurant. So if you're looking for, hey, I want to go to a Michelin star restaurant, I don't want to break the bank as you might at others, get a great 5, 6, 7-course meal, I would highly recommend checking out Press. They're so accommodating, wonderful staff, and well worth your time to make a trip out there. Kind of at the north end of the valley, but you will enjoy it very, very much. All right, everybody. I want to thank everyone for joining us for This Week Uncorked. And as always, if you want to know what a corkage fee is at your favorite restaurant, if you're traveling, you're visiting, just head over to corkandjourney.com and you can find any corkage fee you're looking for, more than likely. If not, please add it. We would love to know what the corkage fee is there. And as always, follow us on social media. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, whatever you are on social media. We would appreciate it very much. And we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.